Welcome to Podnutz Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 233, Channel Pro 2017. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live calling show for computer repair techs. We answer your questions on running and operating your computer repair business. The call-in number is 1-888-697-0162. The Computer Repair Podcast is brought to you by Ninja, the simple-to-use remote monitoring and management solution. Try it free at info.ninjamsp.com/Podnutz. Let me introduce the co-hosts. We have Paco Lebron from ProdigyTeks. How you doing, Paco?
Better than good, better than most.
Awesome, man. And also we have John Dubinsky from the Maven Group, or should I say the man, the myth, the Maven.
Locked and loaded, Jeff. Thank you.
And also we have Joe Knezovich from Cyber Onsite Services. How you doing, Joe?
Good. How about you guys?
Awesome. And last but not least, Tom Wilmot from Wilmot Computer Solutions. How you doing, Tom?
How's it going, gentlemen?
Good, good. All right, so let's go ahead and, John, since you love to start off, or you complain when you don't, why don't you share a tip or story with us that we could learn from?
Well, I have the world's greatest tip this week, and I got to give kudos out to my friend Tom sitting across the desk from me. A lot of us use Knezovich Pro to do our updates and scripting, and Knezovich now has something called their App Sheet or Pro Interface, which is a fully web-based SaaS interface, visual, automatic update, installation, scheduling. Everything you wanted from Knezovich Pro is now visual at what I think is a pretty attractive price. So that's at knezovich.com/pro interface. And I don't know if I'm just late to the game and everybody else knew about this before me, and then Tom was elected to tell me last, just so I didn't know, but I told Tom I would buy him a steak dinner in Washington, D.C., and I will definitely do that. That's how much I like it.
Wow, that says a lot. That's good. All right, cool. Very cool.
I'm almost giddy. Let's put it that way.
Ooh, almost. And also, let's see, Paco, what do you got for us this week?
Basically to ensure that you keep your team up to date with all the basically things that are going on with the business. As everyone knows, I have 4 other people that help me out with the business. And when you kind of take the bulk of everything, you kind of just focus on pretty much yourself in a sense, because you are pretty much running the actual processes, you're developing the processes, and you're kind of just handling it all downstream. I took an initiative the last 2 weeks to schedule individual meetings with each of my guys and gals, and just speak with them. Where's my direction? What I'm looking toward to do. There were a couple that were kind of on the fence, seeing what their basically their engagement, their involvement, how far they want to kind of go with the business as we kind of grow and start moving forward with things. And it's just basically the message is make sure your team is up to date and make sure to keep them involved. So we're going to be doing hopefully a group meeting, because as of 4 years, it'll be 4 years coming up in July. Not all 5 of us have actually been in one room together. It's always been virtual. It's always been on the phone. We haven't actually met all together in one spot. So that's the plan, and get more of a better culture and more engagement from the business.
Very cool. And what are you using to communicate?
Slack. So
okay.
Slack for communications, Trello for all our projects.
Now, why 2 different services instead of just using one?
Slack, there isn't really a good way to... So Slack is kind of like our foundation. So basically everything goes into Slack. So everything of all our integrations, everything that we do for web chats, things like that. So everybody's on that platform, but like Trello Slack doesn't have a real good project management place for it. So Trello has been our project management for marketing campaigns, any big changes or shifts that we plan to kind of roll out for infrastructure. And when I say infrastructure, I mean business infrastructure, not hardware or, any of that type of infrastructure. So plan it all there, but comms happen in Slack. But the updates in Trello does shoot to Slack, so people are well aware in case they haven't been in the app.
Will we ever get to the point where we have everything all in one place instead of having to log into several different things to manage our businesses and lives?
I think we will, but like with everything that's all in one, you will always find something better that's going to, because they're basically dedicating themselves to that particular component. So I don't think it will happen. I mean, there probably are solutions out there that do it, but either you're paying a lot of money up front, or they're just not as good as an independent component of someone who is really doing it and taking and championing that software.
Okay. Very cool. Sounds good. Yeah, good communication is the number one lacking thing, I think, in most people's lives, not just their businesses. So that's good. All right, and let's see, Joe, what do you got for us this week?
I got one a little different. I know John's mentioned one that's be kind. One I got is be patient with the customers. I've been in business now 8 years, and sometimes you get a customer on the other line, and you're trying to do remote access, and you tell them to open their browser, and they say, "What's that?" And you just kind of bite your tongue and be nice. And but patience is a virtue, and I'm sure that I've been not patient at times, and I'm sure they can tell, which is not a good thing. You know, they're the one paying you, so be patient.
That's good. And I think I think a lot of times people don't have a lot of patience because maybe in some cases they're not charging. And if in a lot of these cases they would just charge accordingly, whatever their hourly rate is or whatever, it makes it sting a little bit less. And you're like, hey, I'll stay on this call as long as I need to.
Well, I think sometimes for me, the fact is that I think, you're thinking of all the other things that you got to do, and you thought this is going to take 10 minutes, and it's like, oh my God, it turns into an hour, but it shouldn't matter. You're still charging. But again, I think that I get I'm impatient at times,
Gotcha.
So I'm working on that.
One of the things I tell
Not alone, Joe. You're not alone, Joe.
Yeah, no kidding. One of the things when I'm telling my wife and we're going to do a project and she says, okay, how long is that going to take? I give her the time and she basically quadruples it and says, so it's going to take 4 times as long. Yeah, probably. Okay. So I try to build that into my own expectations now, which helps sometimes.
Yeah, me and like I said, Andres over at Green, we always say the same thing for the past 17 years. Even though it should be a simple job, there will always be something that comes up, and it will probably 1 out of 10, it'll actually go the way you thought it will go. And those are the times that you should be grateful and count the stars. But the other 9, just expect there's going to be something that's going to come up in some way, shape, or form.
Absolutely.
If I call and I say I'll be there in 30 minutes and in the progress bar is at 96%, that last 4% takes 2.5 hours every time I call in.
Yeah.
So.
Yep. I hear you.
That's why I don't call ahead. Matter of fact, I just go, I'm waiting until the next day. Oh, I know people hate it when I say stuff like that. All right, Tom, what do you got for us this week?
I got a couple tips for when you're working on computers remotely. I was working late last night, which I tend to do quite often, work late at night, when people aren't on their computers. So I was adding another residential customer to my maintenance plan, and they also added the my infrascale backup to them, using SolarWinds for the maintenance, and some tips for when you're working remotely. What you always want to do is never assume that the customer is going to know what they should do. It's going to be a laptop. Make sure they have it plugged in. Then you also want to, when you first connect to it, go into the power settings and make sure it's set to not go to sleep, because a lot of times you're working remotely, you'll set a few things, walk away from it. If you forget about it, you don't want to come back and have the computer, asleep. One other good tip is try to get the customer to move their laptop as close as they can to their access point, so you have a good wireless connection. I had a problem last night, and it was just intermittent. It would go fast, and it would go slow, and I was switching back and forth between the SolarWinds Take Control and Instant House Call, and still had some trouble, but got everything taken care of. But there's just a few tips to maybe help everyone out.
Yeah, and one other additional one to that: get their credentials. Because I have multiple times always forget that, I got my passcode set up for it, but if you don't have that PIN number, if it's Windows 10, you're still out of the bat, especially when you have to restart.
Yeah.
That's good. That's a good tip.
I'll tell you, Tom, I had the same problem with my father's computer. He had actually sent it up here, and I worked on it, redid Windows 10 on it because it just wasn't working right. It was a bad upgrade, basically from Windows 7 to Windows 10. Got it running. Man, it ran awesome. Up here, no problem. Wi-Fi, everything fine. Gets down there and the connection with the router or something, probably a Comcast router, it probably needed to be replaced. And I told him, I said, I literally cannot work on this remotely because I needed to fix a couple things once it got down there. And I said, you're going to have to wire this up, or you're going to have to call Comcast and replace the router, something along those lines, just to make sure that I can basically work on it, where when I click on something, it doesn't take 30 seconds to register.
Exactly.
Because I tried, and I was just like, I don't have the time to do this. So I need to get in there, run whatever I need to run, and move on. But yeah, so those are good tips. All right. So a couple things. I got a couple XP laptops. Yeah. So just for those that know, and I've talked about this before, I do have a customer that uses some proprietary software that needs XP because it would literally cost tens of thousands of dollars to upgrade his software in order to work with Windows 7 or anything above that. So in the past, he's bought these machines from refurbishers, other companies like us. So I get these two laptops. The problem is neither one will authenticate with the Microsoft servers. So I go in there, okay, no big deal. Let me go in, we'll do the 1-800 number, we'll call Microsoft, we'll go in and we'll do the key, and we put in the key and all that kind of stuff, and I read the code to them, and it comes back, cannot authorize, basically. So I'm like, okay. So what I should have done at that point before going into more troubleshooting is I probably should have basically done something like a project key or something like that to pull the keys to see what key was actually in there. Well, lo and behold, both the systems had this same identical key. Now, here's the stupid part. So whoever this company was, they basically had put the refurbished stickers on the bottom of the laptop. They're there. The keys are there. They're legit. They're good. I have the refurbisher media for XP Service Pack 3. Not a big deal. So I try to go in and I try to update the keys using the update key tool. Won't work. Comes across with some error. So basically, I have to do a reinstall of both these machines with the media and the proper key, and hopefully it will authenticate at that point. But shame on the company that's selling this stuff. And I get it. Hey, you're turning a lot of these over. You're probably using either a generic key just to get it up and running, some image that you've probably used so that you can get these machines in and out very quickly. That's fine. Up until the point where somebody actually has to work on the machine and you've done it wrong, which, okay, that's what we get paid for. Apparently, I get paid to fix the stuff that the stupid people cannot or don't know how to do properly. And that's why a lot of times when we talk about price and things, that's why I charge what I charge, because I'm not going to charge a cheap price, because I'm sitting there giving the expert advice to go above and beyond to figure out things that I've been in phone calls with third level engineers, and I've had to figure out their problem. Something's wrong there. Wait, you wrote the software. Why am I figuring out your problem? But that's just the way it is. That's what we get paid for. So don't count yourself short when we do some pretty amazing things when it comes to fixing computers. One more on a side note, and I know Paco, I know I said I wouldn't talk too much, but I lied. One more. So I've been looking for a workout app because, to be honest with you, as busy as I am in all the things I have going on, the number one excuse you hear all the time from most of us is I'm too busy to work out. The difference is I know how I feel in a day-to-day basis, working out, doing a little bit, and not working out. So as busy as I am, there really is no excuse. I need to make the time. So my plan is I wanted to get up in the morning and do some sort of workout. And I wanted to basically find an app. And I went all over the Android store or the Google store, Google Play, and tried to find a certain app for working out. Well, they either wanted a paid subscription, which, you know, is fine if you're going to use that type of thing, but I wanted to try it out first. Or you had these ones where you had to do so many workouts to unlock things, or you had ones that were like a single exercise like burpees or something like that. And basically I was looking for an app that I love to use things like dumbbells, just lightweights. I don't lift heavy anymore. I'm not 18 for crying out loud. And so a lot of these things I want to incorporate into a workout. But for me to take the time and effort to go and create something that I can do in the morning just wasn't feasible. And I need it to be 30 minutes or less. So I found a good app called Nike Plus Training Club app, which is completely free. It's on iOS, Android. And you can download this app and you can basically go in there and start your own personal plan. Tell them what type of equipment you have, either no equipment. If you have some equipment, you can tailor make it for yourself. How many days a week do you want to work out? All these different things. And then it's going to track it. It's going to remind you. It's going to do all these different things. So anyways, I'm going to try that. And it starts Monday morning. And I'm going to let you know in the next couple of weeks of whether I've kept with it. But I need to get my blood moving in the morning. So this is what I'm going to do to try to, take care of the being tired and not wanting to do things and all that kind of stuff. So,
Jeff, what's the name of the app again, please?
It is called Nike Plus Training Club app.
So I got two things on that. One, I hope you do stay dedicated to it because it's rough and it's hard. Because before I went to travel from Toronto, I was doing DDP yoga for like 10 weeks straight. I was close to finishing the beginner section to be able to go into intermediate. I lost like 20 pounds. I was feeling great. And then all that traveling and then personal things happened. I just hadn't been consistent with it. So trying to get back to it. But like you said, I just kept telling myself that I was too busy or I just don't have the time, etc. So I read a good article and I've actually programmed myself to think this way, where to replace I'm busy or I don't have enough time with it's not a priority.
Right.
And it's as simple as that is, it really changes the dynamic of things just in general with your life. So there are times where I'm like, oh, well, I'm too busy to do X. And then when I hear myself say that, I make it like it's such a bad word for me to say. So I replace it with it's not a priority. And then by saying it that way really shifts the dynamic for me to like, okay, I really need to take care of this. So what I did was exactly like you did, but I did it in a reverse. I actually started monitoring my diet. And so I downloaded, so I used to use this app called MyFitnessPal.
Yep.
And apparently Under Armour bought it since I haven't used it in quite some time. So Under Armour bought the app and they completely redesigned it. But that's kind of what I've been using now to keep track of what my eating, because it's always like, I forgot the percentage ratio between working out and diet, and diet's always the majority of what was going on. So hopefully getting that back, getting the energy, and then waking up early in the morning to get energy for the day is the hope. And I've been doing that for the last week or so, and hopefully it's going to continue to be that way. But really changing, I'm busy, I don't have time for it, to it's not a priority. You'll be surprised on how many things you do, it decides to change because of you just changing that phrase.
That's good. One of the things I've always said, and I've said this for years, I don't know if I've ever brought it up before, but the 11th commandment, thou shalt not fooleth thyselfeth. And basically that means you don't sit there and try to tell yourself lies, because even you're lying. But yeah, it is a mindset change, and it's definitely something that, and that's why I think I go back to, sometimes you can do something where you don't need any equipment. If you go back thousands of years ago and you look at the athletes and people that basically they wrestled, they did all these types of games and different things where it took, feats of strength and whatnot. If you go back then, a lot of it was just either things they had around, or a lot of times it was just their own body weight that they would use to basically get in ultimate shape. So you don't always need equipment or a gym membership, or you just need to wake up, shuffle your butt down to the living room or wherever, basement, whatever, and just put something on that you can just follow and just do the best as you can. And I guarantee you will feel better after doing it and go, oh, I feel good. And don't get me wrong, every day you wake up, you're probably, at least for the first few months, you're not going to feel like doing it. But once you get in that consistent habit, and they say 21 days to create a habit, you can get there and do what you need to do. So I encourage everybody to do something, whether it's go on a fast-paced walk or something like that. All right, so let's take a quick break and get into our main topic. Our show today is brought to you by Ninja, the remote monitoring and management solution to help you become more efficient, more productive, and more profitable. With Ninja, you can have a faster fixed response time and offer preventative maintenance to your customers. Ninja understands what you need to run your business, which is why their RMM solution is integrated with tools you use every day. Ninja provides competitive pricing, patch management, antivirus, email, SMS alerting. You can be up and running quickly with minimum training time. You have TeamViewer integration for that remote support. It's one solution for managed and non-managed clients. Network visibility inside the RMM. I mean, not only network visibility, but you can actually see if you want to know, hey, what kind of motherboard's in that machine? What kind of RAM do they have? How much RAM do they have? All this stuff is on an easily read dashboard that you can read and understand and click through very, very easily. They have a powerful device search where you can create custom queries and export the list to show your customers. They also have an executive style report showing important system metrics such as health score, software added or removed, hardware changes, and TeamViewer connections. Ninja is offering Podnutz a free 30-day trial, and when you decide to buy, a 10% discount. Take advantage of this offer. Go to info.ninjamsp.com/Podnutz. All right, so we are going to talk about Channel Pro. We're going to do a recap from the Channel Pro in Chicago, which was last week. And all these gentlemen, except for myself, on the board right now, have all went and participated. So I'm going to start in a little bit different order. Joe, I'm going to start with you, and I want you to give me kind of your insights to what Channel Pro meant for you, what things you learned out of it, and just any insightfulness, whether it was worth it or not, and let the audience know.
Well, I definitely thought it was worth it. I went to the SolarWinds the day before where they went over their stuff. I do use their product, but barely. I've had it for about 4 months, and I hardly have any customers on it yet. But at least I got a good view of what it can do, which was nice. They did a nice job with that. They showed their managed backup. They showed the new Enable product that they bought from somebody else. I guess we also found they were the largest MSP in the world now. I can't remember what they said, how many customers they had or clients, but it was a lot.
I think over 20,000 individual company clients. And I forget how many endpoints they said.
I think it was over 1 million endpoints, I believe.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay.
And the day of the Channel Pro, I thought what I liked about it was there was a lot of short segments all the way through it of all the vendors and different things, and they really kept it right on time. I would definitely go again, and got to be with some good people, of course, but and then it gave you about, I think it was a couple hours to go look and talk to all the vendors that were there. Which I did with Tom's pushing me. I went and seen every single one of them, but and I did learn some things from some of them that I have in my back pocket. I thought that one of them was I don't even know how you pronounce it. ELO, ELO.
ELO Digital Office.
Yes, they were from Europe or somewhere, European company.
I think you said Germany.
Oh, Germany. There you go, Germany. And what they do, what I understood it was, I thought was interesting, is if you have a client or a customer that's all digital, paperless, they manage all of that digital information in a way that you would know specifically the last person that touched that digital. It could have been a document. Let's say that document got out to the public. They would know exactly who was the last person or 2 or 3 that touched that document electronically. So I thought that was interesting. Don't know the cost or anything like that, but I thought that we are in an age where everything is digital, and that could be some of interest to me sometime to look into. But I thought that was interesting. But I would definitely go again. I liked it. I like the fact that all the vendors, you get a chance to, they come and talk to you. I think if they're the gold vendor, correct? If they're gold vendors, they're the ones that came in and talked.
I think gold and silver talked.
Okay. But yeah, I'll add some others as people talk probably, but
Now, Joe, was this your first time going?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Okay.
I was going to go last year and I didn't make it. I think that's when, or 2 years ago, that's when you went.
Yes. Okay. All
Right. That was my first one.
Good.
Yep.
Very good. All right. And Tom, let's go with you and see what your overview of Channel Pro was.
Yeah, I went with Joe to the pre-day event to the with the SolarWinds, and yeah, it was pretty neat seeing all the new stuff that they have. It looks like they're just adding more and more features, getting better. I saw the Enable, the N Central product, and that's pretty amazing too. All the different features in there. Learned some more things on the SolarWinds. On the main day of the conference, one of the vendors that I saw that I thought was very good was Citricom, and they are a VoIP provider. And what's unique about them is there's no contract and there's free hardware with them. So they use the phone systems that they use are called Grandstream, and John had more knowledge of this than I do, and he was saying that those are good system, those phones. So I called them to see about possibly partnering up with them to maybe resell their VoIP systems. I mean, every business has a phone, so that was one of the main themes of this Channel Pro was how to add more things and sell more stuff. The phone systems was a major talking point of a lot of the different people there. So going to go ahead and get a follow-up call with Citricom and possibly start selling their product. They said you sign up partner with them, they'll give you a free unit to demo and play with. You can take it to your customers to show them. So
Oh, cool.
yeah,
Good. Very good. All right. And Paco, I know this is Tom. Let's go back to Tom for a quick second. This was your second time at Channel Pro, correct?
Yeah. I guess they go to Chicago every other year. I think they move around the cities.
Okay. All right. Very good. And Paco, what was your overview of Channel Pro?
So second time over there, it's always a great time over there. Michael Siggins throws a great event, who is one of the founders, and I forgot what his position is now, but essentially, it's kind of the big piece of trying to pull all this together with Channel Pro. So for those that don't know or have not heard of Channel Pro before, Channel Pro is a publication that offers digital and physical magazine. So it's a publication, is a great thing. It's free. So definitely for those who it is the first time you guys are hearing about it, I would definitely go to channelpro.com, sign up. And I mean, it's a great resource, and he does a lot to help the communities with bringing in a lot of vendors, content, and really helping out those. And hopefully he'll be on the Podnutz network to talk about it as well soon here. But my experience with Channel Pro, I mean, this was really great. Second year in, a lot of great content. Like Tom was mentioning, there was a lot of discussion on creating add-on revenue. So basically really understanding your current client base instead of looking at new clients. What can you do to integrate yourself into your current client base? And telecom was a big piece. A lot of VoIP, mentioning that a lot of VoIP manufacturers are becoming very channel only and really helping out the IT and MSP providers, managed service providers, and really trying to give them more bang for their buck, but really driving the notion and the communication that a lot of these things that have separate vendors, printer and copiers, telecom, et cetera, we've always outsourced or were the middlemen to help with these type of products, where now a lot of them being VoIP, everything being network based, you can actually bring these on, either having a partner that's channel only in your own encompass, or you taking it on yourself and really understanding that this is going to be revenue you can bring in. The other dynamic that they were really talking about was the flip side, where copy companies, printer companies, telecom companies are trying to dive in our space and being managed service providers, and they're not really doing really good at it. So for us, the learning curve on learning their stuff is a lot shorter than them coming into our arena. And it's really going to be beneficial to us to really gain that knowledge and really start focusing on adding those income-driven add-ons moving forward. So that was a big driving point that I got from a lot of the presentation. The Polachek brothers were there really speaking on both lesser or newer managed service providers to those experience on certain topics on what to do, how to expand, what does there need to be do now that you've kind of reached peak, and so forth and so on. So great experience, a lot of great time speaking with a lot of the vendors. I actually reached out to one of them that offers a cold calling service to what you designate as a target demographic of your client. So if you already have an avatar, if you already have a specific client you are trying to chase, they will go ahead and provide a cold calling service for you to attack those type of clients and not only get new clients, but take other clients or take those clients away from probably competitors that they may not be happy with right now. So I thought that was a cool service. Hadn't heard anybody really doing something like that. So reached out to them, see how it's going, and kind of go from there. But all in all, great value. It's always a great time over there. And especially with meeting everybody here, John, Joe, Tom, Jerry Bransfield, Taz, Cool's in the chat right now. A lot of us were there living it up, and it was a good time just hearing from everybody.
Awesome. Yeah, it sounds like a great time. And it's always a great time to get together with peers, that's for sure. And when you have great content on top of that, that's even more of a bonus. All right, John, you're last but not least.
So. Boom. All right. Let me circle back on a couple of things. I just want to give a shout out to Taz, who I know is in the chat. He was there, and then Curtis was there too. So that was great to see both of them. Tom's right. I have a local VoIP provider that I use here in my town, but if I didn't, I would definitely look at Citricom. I mean, their presentation made me want to do business with them. So if they can actually deliver what they talked about, I'd be all over that. And yeah, Tom did it, and I did talk about the VoIP phones they do. I do like the Grandstream phones. I roll out Polycom phones, but I would put Grandstream as far as quality, probably right behind Polycom. So I don't think there's any problem there. Back to Michael Siggins. You know, the funny thing about him is I had to step out, take a phone call, and I sat down, I hung up my phone, and I was just sitting there, and he came around the corner, and I talked to him down at CompTIA. And, you know, I can only imagine the amount of guys he sees at all these events. But he comes around the corner and he looks at me and he goes, I saw you in Florida. You know, and he sat there with me for about 15 or 20 minutes and just, you know, shoot the wind, or whatever you want to call it. I can't say the other words, sorry. But I thought that was really good. And he does seem to have a vested interest. You know, I don't know what he gets out of the deal. Obviously, it's his job, but he does seem to have a vested interest in putting on a good show. And with that said, I would probably say Channel Pro is my favorite conference because I like it that everything's in one day. I'll put the link in the show notes, but I mean, I got to talk to 25 vendors in one day and learn a little bit about each one of them with absolutely little effort. And it was great to see all the guys, as everybody else has said before. If I had to pick out a couple vendors that caught my eye, Data Deposit Box was there. They're a backup solution company. Maybe what sets them a little bit apart is they do an image backup to a NAS device, which is kind of like Datto, or Datto, but a little bit different. I mean, it depends on your need, of course, but I thought that was really good and their pricing was nice. And Troy, who's who I talked to there, and I'll put all this in the show notes. I wandered over to Access Communications, and this is probably the one vendor I wasn't looking for. I wasn't looking for anything like this, but they had what I thought was a very nice video surveillance system. Usually the systems I deal with are the ones you inherit that are old, ugly, clunky, hard to use, hard to program, all that kind of good stuff. You know, I spent about 15, 20 minutes with Christina at her table, and again, I left away with the feeling that, man, that's a product I almost want to sell. And that's really not something I would have got into, but circling back to what Paco and the other guys said, you know, a lot of the presentations and all that were about add-ons. So you're already a great MSP or a great break and fix. What can we add on to boost revenue even further? And maybe video surveillance is something you want to get into, but the pricing was nice. The product looked very good. Probably my surprise vendor there was Buffalo Storage, their NAS devices. I know we all tend to lean towards Synology, and I certainly don't have any problem with them. Buffalo does not have all the software plugins. I like that. Have all the software plugins that Synology does, but the quality is definitely there in the device. And the thing that really got me was 24/7 phone support out of Texas with a 3-year warranty. Ooh. Which Synology does not have. So if you had a business, you know, you need business and top tier support, that was very intriguing to me. So
they came with the drives as well. They came.
Yes, came with the drives.
Yes.
Oh, nice.
And the pricing, it was less than the Synologies we were comparing to, like for like, and a lot less.
Yeah.
So I thought that was interesting as well.
A big piece of that too is that Lenovo, when they stopped doing their NAS drives, basically referred all the resellers to do Buffalo. So that says a lot if an OEM is backing them up too.
Wow.
Yes, so I will definitely take a hard look next NAS I need. I mean, I don't do a ton of them, but I think that would be, I mean, that was a surprise for me. But back to Channel Pro, they took really good care of us. The food was good, I thought. The venue's great. I mean, free parking. You get out of your room, you walk downstairs, you go to the venue, so there's no hassle. Presenters were good, and it was a lot of fun.
How about the
other vendor ice? Go ahead.
How about the presentation by the 20?
Yeah, I forgot his name. What's his name, guys? Do you remember? It's the same guy that's on the board for Citricom.
The Tim Conkle?
Yeah, Tim Conkle. I mean, he was dropping more words that I can't say on the show during his presentation, but
very motivational.
You know, I think he balanced. Yeah, very motivational, and I think he balanced it out pretty good. And it definitely did differentiate him. I mean, we're all talking about him now, but a little bit brash, but a little bit on. You know, and it's funny because I went up to him and he said "poopy bird," and I think you know what I'm trying to say, Jeff. So I went up to him. I didn't spend a lot of time with Citricom or the 20, but I went up to him and I said, "Hey, how long you serve?" And he looked at me and he said, 4 years. And he said, "How'd you know that?" And I said, "Nobody else says poopy bird." So, you know, he was pretty cool. We talked for about 5 minutes. So yeah, I enjoyed the time with him.
Nice. Oh, very cool. Well, it sounds like everybody had a great experience, either first or second time. And there always is something that you can learn. And not only that, take away good information, but learn about new products and services. Because now that you've just talked about things like the Buffalo NAS, I actually need a NAS. So I'm going to be talking to you and figuring out what they got, because I've looked at Synology and a bunch of different things, but I'm looking for something I just need basically a backup NAS for the office. So sounds like that might work out just fine. So any other, let's go back to Joe. Joe, was there any other vendors that you had looked at maybe for the first time that you were interested in maybe going back and seeing what they have?
Well, not really. I just thought there was, you know, that the 20, what they were talking about, they made some really good points. He said that everything being sold and delivered today is through TCP/IP. I mean, all the Internet of Things and all. So you really got to be on top of networking and understanding it. You know, they talked about customizing bundles, you know, and of course we all do that with our MSPs and stuff like that. But I need to get better at that, customizing things. Cynix was there. I'm not a Cynix. I'm an Ingram Micro. I have an account with them, but I'm not too fond of Ingram Micro. I think they're too big for me. I'm just a little guy, and I just don't feel like I get the attention that you do with, you know, if I was $1 million, $10 million company, I think Ingram Micro would spend a little more time with me. But I may look into Cynix. They were there. I think they're a little smaller provider, you know, for parts and stuff like that. Of course, anymore, John and I talked about this. Amazon, you almost can't beat these, you know, the small items. You know, I think Ingram, I got to spend, I think $1,000 to get free shipping. You know, so I have to have an order of over $1,000, you know, to get free shipping. So
yeah, John and I have talked about this many, many times, and I've had people tell me, and there's people listening to the show right now that says, no, you have to have a distributor. It's the only way to go. You get that support and that warm, fuzzy feeling, to which I go, maybe you do, maybe you don't. I don't know. But the reality is Amazon's very easy. I go in there, find what I want, click, boom, shows up to my house. A lot of times, 1 day later, and if it's kind of a little slow, 2 days.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I want to add one more thing that I got from Taz. I want to give a shout out to Taz. And this has nothing to do with exactly the show, but he was sitting there, you know, we get a lot of business cards at the show. and I saw him take a picture of one of his business cards. And then saw him looking at his phone. I said, "What are you doing? What is that?" He had an app called World Card, which I thought was really slick because I'm in a BNI group and I'm always getting business cards, right? And you got to pass them on to other people and stuff like that. Well, this app called World Card, you take a picture of the card, it puts it in the app, and then it goes and it pulls all the contact information from it, and you can add it right to your contacts if you want to. You don't have to type any of it in. It'll just add it right. Now on an iPhone, it does it, and I think it also does it for the Google phones too. But I really was impressed with that. I bought it right there on the spot and started using it.
Awesome.
You know, a lot of time, and then you can send the business card. You know, of course, you can do a contacts with a phone too, but you can send the identical business card. You can message it to somebody. So I was impressed with that. So I was really glad that I saw him do that, and I'm a user of it. And anybody else that's wants something that keep your business cards handy, there it is. It's on his phone.
Yeah, I thought that was a cool app because, like, with me in all the networking groups and all the stuff that I'm involved with, I have tons of business cards. And what I was doing was I would scan them all in one sheet or whatever image, and then I just store them on my Google Drive. But it's a pain, exactly like how Joe was saying, to search and try and find the one you were looking for. You know it's there, but you got to try and find it. With this app, it literally will grab the contents of the card, have the picture of the card, and it just is really slick. So.
And you can categorize the cards. You know, you can categorize, like, you know, I put, you know, text, you know, and BNI, different categories, and then you can search and look that way. So I was impressed. So shout out to old Taz for showing me that.
Very cool. All right, Tom, what else from the event did you learn or get?
Well, I thought that Cynics was they were a gold sponsor. They did a talk, and one of the things that I thought was really interesting that they did is I think most people, if they're familiar with Cynics, they know them as a distributor where you would get parts from. But another feature that they have, or a service, I guess, is they can actually, I guess they have partnerships with techs around the country, where they gave an example. They had a company, a small two-man shop, where he was a partner with Cynics. He was able to make a bid on a national contract for a large corporation to do installs. I don't think they got in particular as far as what they were, maybe access points or whatever. But this small two-man shop was able to go in and make a bid on this national contract because he was able to use Cynics. One of their services is where that you can contract with them, and they will deploy people to do installs for you.
Wow. Okay. That's very interesting.
So I mean that's something that you would never even think of, you know. So that was very, very interesting, and I might be calling Cynics, you know, to find out more about that. What did you guys think about it? Did you guys see that presentation?
Yes.
I heard similar presentation with Ingram Micro, but I did not hear about with Cynics that they had it as well.
Does anybody use Cynics as a distributor?
That's probably my primary distributor.
Okay. You like them?
I signed up with them, but I haven't used them yet.
Same here.
They're not a whole lot different than the rest of them, to be totally honest with you. The guys are great. Salespeople call me all the time from the Philippines. That's where their call center is. It's not a good thing or a bad thing. All the guys I've ever dealt with there are great, or have been great. So, but it's the same problem. You know, I can't just order one router and have it in 2 days without paying $16 to get it here. So,
okay.
Depends on what you need. I mean, if you want a niche partner like I did do in the past, and I think this was with D&H way back in the past, where I did like a 12 server rollout, and there was a little geographic location, and I had them do all the configuration on the boxes before they even shipped them to me. So, I mean, there are tools or services that I do provide. Just like Tom was saying, if you're a small shop and you want to, you know, play with the big boys, they can do that. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's who I actually use exclusively for my new stuff.
All right, Paco, some other insights from the show?
Nah, I mean, like I said, I mean, as a whole, I mean, I think that the main message of them trying to really try and drive through to the managed service providers that there's more value in what they got. I think a lot of vendors were there to really understand who their clientele was, but to also let them know a lot of the features that were coming out. So I think a lot of the for those who are open to being, you know, with what vendors they currently have and seeing what's out there, I think they did a very good job of explaining why we should go with them. And it wasn't a sales pitch, but more of a conversation. Their sales process has really gotten better. So I think if anything to take away from it is, you know, understanding how they're kind of doing their sales process, to adopt that and kind of take it with our clients, right? Because everyone has a sales process, but it's probably not that great. And having a conversational process in that whole sales process makes it a lot better, because the big piece of a sales process is the presentation process. So, and I think that's what they hit out the park with that, because they were able to explain things specifically versus, hey, we'll have a guy talk to you and we'll get back to you at a later date, or we'll give you a call for next week. They all pretty much just were there. It was hands-on for those who had questions. They dove in right into the equipment or whatever they were trying to sell with.
It's funny you mentioned that, because in Paco, you and I, this is a little side tangent, but you and I have talked about Facebook ads and different things.
Yes.
Just today, and I'll give you a prime example of how this works properly. I was on Facebook, as I am periodically, and this little video came up for a concealed carry holster. Yes, I carry, for all you bleeding heart liberals. I mean, for all you wonderful, loving people out there.
Easy.
I'm just kidding. I take every law that I can and use it to my benefit. So just like taxes. So anyway, so I was looking at this little video and I decided to watch it. Clicked on it, watched it. I'm like, oh, that's very interesting, because I'm always looking for a concealed carry that I can carry in the summertime when I'm wearing shorts and a t-shirt, which with a lot of holsters, you can't very well.
It's a pain, or it weighs too much.
So I went in, because I carry a full size Glock for anybody that cares. And so, because I want to. And so anyways, I went to their site that was sponsoring this ad, that obviously was a sponsored ad that came up on Facebook, and they were talking about it in this particular site. I think it was concealedcarry.com, and they sell the holster. So I said, you know, I went in there and I watched a couple videos. I went back on YouTube, watched some other reviews from real people, and everybody was saying the same things. And so I went right back to that website and actually bought the holster, and it'll be shipped to me in a couple days. So it was something that I knew I needed, but just was never really pursuing. But that is the point in check where an ad actually works, because it's something I might have been looking for, and it hit exactly where I needed and was a perfect fit. So I like that type of advertising.
Well, I mean, it's all done specifically. So that's where a lot of people get, and this will be a whole nother show, a whole tangent, or you can go to another show that I'm aware of. But basically, Facebook ads, to do it right, you have to target your audience. Yeah. And if you don't know who your audience is, you can't guess, because you're going to waste money. Let me rephrase that. You're going to invest money on trying to figure out who that is. I mean, there's plenty of services out there that you can upload your customer lists to and get other areas of information that they've collected. There's a company called Tower Data that I used on my own clients to try and get other aspects of age, income, what they like to do, what was their major, hobbies, things like that. And once I start figuring out what was a common theme, that's what I plugged into Facebook ads to do the targeting. But the biggest piece, like you just said, was it wasn't a sales ad per se. It was more of a, hey, this is a product, check it out. Information ad, right. Yep. So it wasn't a hard sell, like click here to buy. It was more of a, I'm assuming, I don't know what the ad was, but the more genuine content you have as far as an informational piece, and you start figuring out that the ad should be more media than a sales pitch, more people than not will end up buying or enrolling in your service. Because look at exactly what you did. You went to the ad, you went to the site, you went outside of the site to find other honest third-party reviews, word of mouth per se, which is in the digital era. You went back and bought the item. That's exactly how we should be doing it, but we can't start doing that unless we know who our customer is. Not the customer who you want to go after, who are your current customers right now that are making you money. And you'll be surprised that the people who are making you money, actually good money, is probably not the client that you've been chasing all this time, which is what I've learned.
And the other funny thing is the original video that I watched, and it was a crappy video, just to be perfectly honest. It was a guy talking, saying the same thing over and over again, but never getting to the point where he actually tried this thing on and said, hey, here's how it works. So that's what forced me to go to another outside website, clicking through their link, so even a crappy video still intrigued me enough to go research it and find out, which I find amazing.
You're just a weirdo then. Got it.
I guess because it's like I said, you have to be in the need for something. And that's why I let Google, Facebook, and everybody else have all my information, because I really don't care. I want you to give me the ads that I might be interested in. And every once in a while it'll work. So anyways, all right, John, any other thoughts from Channel Pro now that we've dived off into a rabbit trail?
Well, I'm just wondering if anybody was actually surprised that you're a little weird, but that's just
Really?
a tangent. Never mind.
Really. Yeah.
I had another thing if John didn't.
I got a couple of things, Tom. I'll let you jump in. I also met with Autotask. I'm thinking about using their PSA. So if anybody has any feedback on that.
I'm sorry, what's a PSA?
I have no idea. But professional services automation. So documentation, workflow, ticketing, it's plugged into a lot of RMMs, or it can be a separate unit, so you can tie it into anything. Spend a couple minutes with our friends at Ninja, John over there. They're good guys. They got a lot of new stuff coming. You could probably circle back to Paco for most of the details on that, but they've got third-party patching and a bunch of cool things coming up. So if you guys are using that now or considering it, that's probably not a bad choice. Back to ELO Office. Not that Pro. Yeah, without a doubt. I love you, Tom. Back to ELO Office. If you guys remember Nuance, what was it, Paperport? You guys ever use that product?
Yes.
Came bundled with it.
Yeah.
Kind of stuff.
Yep.
And I don't want to insult ELO, but if you can imagine that, and then imagine that on steroids with just a plethora of really cool features, like Joe was saying. If you have a company that needs document management and archiving, I would definitely maybe jump on that bandwagon and take a look at them. And then my last thing that I saw there go ahead.
One thing, the biggest thing about ELO Digital Office is they're not a SaaS product. They're an on-premise product.
Correct.
So
that is correct.
That's the biggest difference between them and for our documentation company like IT Glue. They're an on-premise platform where two of their entry platforms are Windows only, where their enterprise are environment independent. So you can put it on a Linux, Mac, or Windows box. But the biggest piece of it for those that are considering it is an on-premise product, unless you put it on, let's say, like a VM on a hosted, infrastructure as a service platform. You can do something like that. But that's one of the biggest pieces for anyone who is considering or taking a look at it as well.
I think a neat thing that
it's not just limited to IT either. It is a full document management and archiving suite. So any company that needed that kind of stuff and wanted to keep it in-house. Sorry, Tom, go ahead.
Joe, I think a feature that Joe was telling me about, because he was talked to ELO for a little bit, was that you can kind of use that ELO for monitoring too your employees as far as who's opening what documents. I think he had mentioned stuff like that, where it does reporting on that, right, Joe?
Yes, yeah, that was that the security of it, knowing exactly who's opening what and when. So that's what I liked about it, because there's companies out there that need to know that. If they have trade secrets or whatever, they want to know who's opening, doing something with a document. So I thought that was, I don't know what the cost was, but I'm going to remember them. Let's put it that way.
And I remember the pricing. I don't remember it off the top of my head, but for the small business package, it was not unreasonable.
Okay.
I think it was less than $1,000 for 10 users or something like that. So it was not unreasonable in my opinion. And then my last thing that I saw there that I thought was intriguing, that I'm going to probably sit through a couple of webinars on, was Carver Security, CRVIR Security. Their website is neverpaytheransom.com. I thought that was interesting. It's kind of like a mix between antivirus, a FIM, which is kind of what you guys are talking about, a file management, and just endpoint security. Replaces your antivirus or runs with it, but you don't need antivirus or endpoint security if you use this. and their claim to fame is no more viruses, no more malware, no more ransomware if you use their product. So,
wow.
Well, another thing intertwined through the whole thing too was, of course, ransomware. They talked a lot about VoIP and that, but ransomware was a major topic. And, they said that ransomware was up 6,000% in 2016. So, I mean, that was obviously all the backup companies commented about ransomware.
And that's a good point too. I remember we were talking to a security person who was doing security, and he was on one of the Podnutz shows. And basically, I can't remember the exact numbers, but he said most of the time when a small business gets hit, their minimum price of getting out of that is usually around $25,000. There's a breach of some sort. They've lost whatever. And so what they had basically said was that will send 80% of businesses, that 25 grand will shut down 80% of those businesses.
Yeah, I think it was like 70% of small businesses go out of business because of ransomware. Yeah.
It's crazy. It's crazy. So when we're talking to the customer, we really need to let them know, okay, if you lost that stuff, or if you lost this stuff, what would that mean for your business? And if they can't tell you, it's like, listen, you need to listen to me because I'm trying to protect you from going out of business. All right, Tom, you said you had something?
Oh, yeah. One of the, I was just thinking of a couple of things that made Channel Pro interesting was when they would have like the panels, when they'd have like, say 4 different people up there, talking on a subject. They had the general overview of what they would be, that whether they would be VoIP people or just MSPs. But then they would put up on the screen like a question, and then like A, B, C, or D, like what top subtopics would you like us to talk about? And then we would all vote with our phones, texting the answer, and you could see it live up on the screen going. So I thought that was interactive, was nice. And one of the other things that some people may have thought was cheesy, but they had a Tech Trends TV game show, and Paco was the buzzer for our table.
You would make a good buzzer.
No,
you're right.
The amount of profanity that I have, the buzzer works perfectly.
No, that's good. You know what? Nobody wants to sit through a stuffy conference where you're hearing somebody drone on about something that you may or may not care about. You want something that's interactive, that's going to engage you.
Yeah, and I thought they did a real good job at it, and looking forward to go to the next one.
Right,
hint,
cool.
hint for those that are watching from the unconvention.
So, any other lasting thoughts about Channel Pro 2017 from Chicago?
Three tips that somebody said. You guys will have to maybe you can remember who said this. Tell the truth at all times. Speak in plain English to the customer, and keep the customer informed. I don't know who said that in the group, but I thought that was, basic stuff. But sometimes we want to talk over our customer's head sometimes, get it down to a basic level. They want the stuff fixed. They don't want to know all the details sometimes. So
I want to say it was the Polachek brothers, but I can't remember which one.
It might have been.
The only caveat to that is when they start asking a lot of questions, then I usually talk over their head, so they leave me alone.
I know one thing that one of the Palachuk brothers did say, I think it was Manuel, but he had said, and I had heard this many times before, is that people want to do business with people like and trust. And that's kind of a theme in networking group that I'm in. We say that a lot, is that, you want to be, always want to be friendly to people, and, so people will, know, like, and trust, and they want to do business with you.
Absolutely. Or treat others the way you want to be treated.
Correct.
You'll win every time. All right. Any other lasting thoughts, or did we cover everything? Good. All right. All right. Let's move on.
One last question, Jeff. Who's going to go in 2 years again? Who would go again?
I would.
Everybody.
Hands are up for everyone. Yep. Everyone said they'll go. All right. Cool. All right, so let's take a quick break and we'll get into some other things. Okay, if you guys would, if a lot of people have heard about the Amazon affiliate link that we're no longer supporting, or is not supporting us. So if you guys want to help the Podnutz network You can do this by easily giving $1 a month. With everybody in the sound of my voice can actually give $1 a month. And you can do that through our subscription button over at podnutz.com, or you can go to patreon.com/podnutz and support the network. And that will help bring in revenue to be able to pay the bills and keep these shows. There's a lot of different tech shows over on the Podnutz networks. This is just one of them. So there's a lot of different things that you can, a lot of people that listen to these shows listen to more than one. So definitely, if you want to keep this stuff going, I would encourage you. You won't miss it. You can give up that half a pop a month and just give $1 a month. And you can do a subscription is very easily. Some people are doing one-time payments, but we definitely appreciate people are definitely giving, and we definitely appreciate that. All right. So
hey, Jeff, I'm going to interrupt you because I know you won't do this for yourself, but Jeff also has a Patreon. So after you give your nickel to the whole network, give your nickel to Jeff as well, please.
I appreciate that, John. Yes, and each of the channels does do that. We have our own Patreon pages just because we want to be able to do things inside our own channel. I think I put a goal up there. Once we get to a certain amount, I want to start doing some giveaways on the show. I want to be able to buy some different things that people are talking about. Paco was just showing us one earlier, a drive duplicator, things like that we can give away on the show. So I have some goals in mind, and it's to benefit all of us. And the reality is too, replacement cost of equipment. Not everything lasts forever, even though everybody would love to think it does. So being able to replace some of the equipment and stuff like that definitely would go a long way. So yes, we do have a Patreon page. Thank you, John. So let's go ahead and take some phone calls if we so desire. And let's see. Yep, we're going to do some emails, take some calls. Phone lines are open. The call number is 1-888-697-0162. Let's go to our first email. First email, this is from Michael Mary. Says, I was wondering if you or your panel have any services that provide monitoring of a client's internet connection. I want to be able to be notified if my client's internet connection goes down rather than waiting for them to call me. This will be part of my retainer client agreement. Do we have anything out there?
I don't have any, but I know if you're using Open Mesh, it will send you an email, I believe, if it's gone down for like an hour or something. I'm not sure if you could change the setting on that.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
1 hour is the default for Open Mesh. If you're using any of the Arachnus products with Overseer, it'll notify you immediately.
I would take a different spin on it. If he's more worried about endpoints, like if a particular server or something like that, any good RMM will be able to give him, if he sets that parameter on when they're offline. I know that with Ninja, there's a feature in there where it'll allow you to send an alert, basically critical, whatever severity you want, in a time frame of how long they're down for. So in this case, like a server or a PC of some sort that needs to be a work group station that needs to stay up for whatever reason. If there's a certain amount of time that he feels that would be, a beneficial amount versus the person restarting, he can also look at that route as well.
John, just going back to you real quick, would you say 1 hour is a sufficient amount of time to be down before you get a notification?
I would say it's too long.
Okay. What would you set it for?
In my opinion.
What would you set it for?
Well, you'd have to, depends on your internet connection, but you definitely want to set it for some latency. I wouldn't set it for 1 minute because you might have little interruptions if you're a Comcast user or something. But I'd want to know probably if it's longer than 5 minutes if my device couldn't connect, just because then that gives me time to react to the customer before they even notice.
Okay, good. Okay, good point. All right, great points.
I do remember there's some freeware. I could look it up. There was something called GizWiz or Gizmo or something like that, where it would ping if he had static IP addresses on his router base or on his WAN base, where he could ping that device and set it to reply, and then it would let there are free ways to do it. They're not ultra convenient, and you'd have to have a system running all the time. But Gizmo, something like that. If you just look for free ping software or something like that.
Well, and I'll throw that out there too, not to be a jerk, but if you're putting residential class routers and things in your customers' businesses, shame on you. You definitely, now if you inherit that stuff, that's a different story. Okay, I know I'm a jerk. But you really should be using some sort of quality service. And here's the thing, you're not paying for it. Your customers are paying for it. And you have a couple of different ways you can do this. You can bill either for your time and not even build extra cost into the hardware, or you can build a little bit of cost into the hardware, bill for your time, however you want to do it. But you can make it where it's feasible for these customers. They're running a business. They're making money. And most of you would be appalled at how much money these businesses are actually pulling in, even though they cry wolf all the time, how they say they have no money, they're broke all the time. And no, they're pulling in a lot of money and they're doing okay. And if you really saw their lifestyle, you would go, I'm charging way too little. Just to let you know.
Well, here's a thought too on that, Jeff. If you use good equipment, you'll have much less need for monitoring.
Yes,
because
exactly.
it won't be the equipment's fault.
Exactly. So. Yes. And I've told everybody knows this probably by now, but I'm gonna say it again. The business class Arachnid stuff that I have in this office here, basically all my components reset themselves once a week. And I do it on a Sunday night, late at night, and they're like an hour apart. My cable modem resets, my router resets, my access point resets, and so I've had no issues since I've had that. And that's such a convenience that I don't have to sit there and go, I need to reset this again. It's been a while.
Well, I just want to say one thing. Reset is not the correct word. Reboots is the correct word.
I'm sorry. Okay. Yes. Yeah. Reboot. Yes. Thank you for the correction.
That's a nice feature, though.
For God's sake, don't push the reset button. Yes. Thank you.
Don't stick the pin in the hole. Do not do that. Unless you really need to reset it. All right. So let's see. This is from Jerry Bransfield, who was with you guys here last week.
Shout out to Jerry.
Hi, Jeff and all. I just went to the Channel Pro event in Chicago. It was nice to meet some new faces, but familiar names and voices, not to overlook the familiar faces and names. There were a few antivirus software vendors at this event. I was thinking, when do you decide to change a vendor for antivirus or any software or hardware? What is the deciding factor? Has the antivirus let you down and you need to find one with better security? Yeah, okay. Or you found one that is better than your current software and want to switch before you were let down or there is a problem. I'm sure it depends on a number of factors. I'm happy with my antivirus software now and have used it for over 10 years, but the vendors at this show made me wonder if I should switch. I thought this might be interesting to hear what everyone's thoughts were on this topic. As always, keep up the good work, everyone. Jerry Bransfield. Appreciate that, Jerry. And I will say, from my standpoint, if whatever's working for you is working, then and you're happy with it, I would go ahead and probably stay with it. But you can always look and test out other things. As far as better security, all antiviruses suck. And if you think they don't, then I got a bridge to sell you. None of them are 100%. Is what I mean by that. Not that they suck in general. None of them are 100%. There's one thing. There's two types of antivirus companies. There's ones that have had problems, and there's ones that haven't had problems yet. They all have problems. So you need to look at, if there's a little issue one time. Now, if it's a constant thing, that's different. But for the most part, stick with what, and not only that, stick with what you know and be good at what you use. So what do you guys think as far as when is the time that you would switch?
Well, I'm with you, Jeff. If it's not broken, let's not fix it. But
no, you're not. That's a lie, John, because you try so much crap out. It's not even funny.
I told you that was my year of trying. I'm done.
But there's a caveat that to defend John if he doesn't say it. So I'm going to let John speak, but I'm going to defend him on why he does it. But go ahead.
So, yeah, I went through a lot of AV vendors probably in the last year. And I loved a lot of them, and some of them I have a love-hate relationship. I guess the way that I would put it in my perspective is, I think everybody knows I manage a little over 800 endpoints. So if I have a problem with an antivirus and it affects all my endpoints, my next morning is really, really bad. And I'm going to pick on a couple vendors just that I heard of in the news. So I guess WebRoot has some sort of problem with deleting something so Windows didn't boot. If that affected all of my 800 endpoints, what would I do? So that would be really bad. I'm not going to say that my antivirus vendor will never have that problem, but I was dealing with another vendor who did an update and it corrupted some profiles. Luckily, not on a very small percentage of my equipment or my endpoints. So that wasn't that big of a deal. But when I poked support and I said, hey, I think you guys have a problem because all of a sudden your update went and I have all these computers that won't boot because the profile is corrupted. And I got back the response of, yeah, we know. That's all I got. I was pretty much like, well, maybe it's time to start shopping around again. Not that I didn't like that product or anything, but again, I use business class endpoint protection, so I don't run into a lot of the things that maybe the guys that support more home users do. I think that might be a tougher sell because a lot of that product comes with all that stuff bundled in it. So it can be bloated. I see it has posted in there, pop-ups, buy me, buy this feature add-on, all that kind of stuff. So I don't run into that a lot. But I'm using Panda antivirus right now through their business management security, and I really like that. Probably my favorite overall, though, is, and you do pay for it, is probably Bitdefender. I think they're just consistently good, but I think Panda, if Bitdefender is my 10, I'd give Panda a 9.9 right now, and they may even push into that 10 level here shortly.
Yeah, I use Bitdefender with SolarWinds.
Okay. Paco, what were you going to say?
Save me, Paco. Save me, buddy.
So I was trying to find a mute button. So yes, John went ahead and switched multiple times and stuff, but there's a big key point of what he does and what I did and what a lot of other business owners and techs that are just trying to get into the field and just figuring out everything is finding something that makes your business process, your life easier. Yeah. And that's exactly what John was trying to do. With 800 endpoints, whatever he can do to consolidate, whatever he can do to make it better is worth the year pain if he came out of that being able to eliminate 3 different pieces. And everyone always has these 3 things in mind: is increase market share, cut costs, and increase revenue / profit. So if it helps any one of these 3 or all 3, it's whatever pain associated with it. If you come out on top with one of these 3 is what's going to matter. So
and I'm going to second you, Paco. I'm going to defend myself even a little bit more. I went through that pain as a conscious decision. At the exact same time, I decided that I was going to try a Windows phone, which I did. I changed antivirus vendors. I changed RMM platforms. So I went in with a conscious decision that I knew it was going to be painful, and I knew what I was going to get into. Not from the aspect of what I was going to discover, but that I knew I was going to have some pain. And to answer Jerry's question of why or when do you think you should switch, I think you got to step back maybe and take, the 1,000-foot view and say, well, is my antivirus actually helping me, or is it maybe causing me more work? Meaning, do I have to fix the antivirus all the time, or is the antivirus fixing me? Is the antivirus just getting out of the way so that I don't have to fix virus problems? Those are the questions I would ask. If you have to tend to your RMM all the time, your RMM is not helping you. You're working for your RMM. Your RMM should be working for you. And you replace RMM with any product that you're using. So,
yep.
I agree.
That's my 2 cents.
I agree.
Yeah. Exactly like you said. I mean, it's all about ease of use. And for Jerry, as far as if it's working for you for the past 10 years, don't switch. But if there's something that you feel will make things easier, so whatever antivirus product that you're using, maybe they have an endpoint that you can be sold at a consumer level, or maybe there's, they have a different product line where you're using several different components where you can unify it all in one vendor that has been pretty much on the ball with things. As everyone knows, I use Ninja, and I have humored looking at other RMM platforms to see what is out there. But the way that Ninja, and although Ninja is a very young company, the amount of updates they continue to come out with just makes things even better. And one of the most recent things that I did, which it goes into John's point, is the RMM or the platforms working for you versus you working on the platforms. I just recently scripted in TechSuite's Windows app, where it just basically does all my virus removals once a month. After all the endpoint stuff picks up with everything else, what I would normally scan on a basis that if I had the machine in house, I do it remotely, and it comes up with the reports. I see everything going on through there now. And so there are other platforms that could probably do it, but with the way that I have everything set up and automated, Ninja just continues to keep increasing or decreasing my time, which is worth it for me to pay them what they're asking for. So it's just one of those where if it's making your life easier, and like you just mentioned, you're not working on it, it's working for you. That's when you kind of decide whether you want to switch over or stay with what you have and just kind of lay low for a little bit until something does come out of your control to make that look again.
I use Kaspersky on my business class endpoints, and I have been using it probably for about 4 or 5 years. I don't have any problems with Kaspersky on the business class end. I use a lot of malware bytes for residential. I prefer that because, you know, it gets rid of the potentially unwanted programs also when it scans. A lot of the residential customers seem to get a lot of those on their computer. You know, there's other antiviruses that do that also, but that's one of their, you know, main priorities is getting rid of potentially unwanted programs also. So that's what I use for residential a lot, along with Defender, you know.
Right.
But if it, like, I'm with the rest of them. If it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah, the only thing I would say is I do definitely try to look for things that are what I would call channel friendly. And I'll explain this so people understand. Channel friendly basically means that either the vendor is selling it directly to you and they don't ever try to upsell your customer. They might have a product that they have out on the shelf somewhere, and that's fine. The products, the antivirus products I don't like is the ones that I put on a machine, I pay for the license, and then there's these pop-ups that come up and say, hey, you need to renew. And a lot of times without even letting me know. So I want the ones that are going to let me know so that I can make the little bit of profit off of those installs. So, you know, it's funny how people will fight over things, kind of like college football. It's like, really? You don't really know who's number one because there is no number one, but whatever. And so I look at a lot of things like antivirus. I use Viper with Ninja, and it's funny. The only problems I ever have is, and this is probably a problem that a lot of people have, people on laptops will basically, they don't always leave their computers on. So there might be a big Microsoft update or some other third-party update or whatever going on. And so a lot of times it'll slow down the system. I'll go in these systems, I'll do a quick cleanup, and a lot of times I'll go through and just for grins and giggles, just to see, I'll go through and I'll do my normal virus removal or virus remediation. And guess what it finds? Nothing. So, and these are using many, many different products that a lot of us use for regular cleanups. So I'm going, well, okay, a lot of people laugh at Viper, but real world scenario, Viper does just fine. I use Windows Defender on my personal machine just because I don't like anything to gum up the works for me. And again, I do a virus remediation on my computer, nothing. So take that with what it is. You can look at all these different stats and figures and all that kind of stuff and believe whatever you read. It doesn't matter to me, but real world scenario is always going to be a little different.
And also keep in mind what kind of reporting you need, what kind of history you need,
Yes,
what kind of automation you need, what kind of remote power you need. Do you want to be able to uninstall or update or monitor that thing remotely? So
absolutely.
again, that's a combination of your endpoint protection and your RMM or one or the other.
Yep. And I won't, so that's one reason, that's a good point, John. I won't sell antivirus by itself. You're either on my managed service or you're not. And you can use whatever you want. I don't care. I'll come in every quarter, every 6 months and clean it up for you. It doesn't matter to me. So either way, if you want to be on my managed service, that's fine. That's the only way that you're going to get antivirus. It's all inclusive. And that's the only way I want to do it because I don't want to look at 2, 3, 4, 5 different things. I want to keep it simple. All right. Third email. This is from Richard Irvine. It says, hey, just some feedback on the HIPAA show. Thank you again, John. I listened to it. Great info for everyone, regardless of if you cover healthcare or healthcare IT. What I learned, I will never supply IT to a healthcare facility. Haha. Awesome show. Keep up the good work, Richard Irvin. All right. Thank you, Richard. Appreciate that. And I'm with you. It'll never happen. I have no desire whatsoever. And here's, a lot of times if you're already, some people are already doing this stuff, or some people are already in it. And so they've got to do a lot of this stuff. But I think a lot of times you definitely have to look at the big picture when you're looking at something like HIPAA. And I don't like anything that's basically run by the government. Not that I'm, whatever. I just don't, because 9 times out of 10, I can't remember one program that they haven't screwed up yet. So they're usually all screwed up. And this might be one of them. But the reality is, I'm thankful that there are companies and businesses out there that will support our healthcare, with their IT needs, because there's a lot of them and they're not going anywhere. John, any thoughts on that?
Well, I get a lot of feedback from that. I actually heard from Donna and Dave over at the Help Me With HIPAA podcast. And again, if you didn't watch that show, it's helpmewithhipaa.com. That is a great show to listen to, whether you're in HIPAA or not. They talk about a lot of great things. And I know he's going to be at the Unconvention. I do not think Donna is going to be there. I also had a couple other people reach out to me about maybe that show or that hangout we were going to do, Jeff. And I've responded back to them. If you haven't heard from me, you'll hear from me by tomorrow morning. But if anybody else wants to do a little HIPAA roundtable, I think it'd be pretty cool to get maybe 3 to max 10 people together, and maybe run through a top 10 HIPAA list. What are we doing? What are you doing for documentation for the client? What are you doing the documentation for you? What's working? What's not working? So I'm kind of pulling everybody that reached out to me at this point to say, hey, do you want to do a show? What do you want the show to be about? If it's not a show, do we just want to have a hangout? And then I'll kind of collect that feedback and maybe get back to you, Jeff. So if anybody wants to do that, to be included with that, you do not need to be a HIPAA pro. I do not classify myself as a HIPAA pro. I'm not HIPAA certified. If you listen to the show, there is no such thing. So, it's an ongoing, eat the elephant one bit at a time. We're all learning. Let's all get together, bang our heads together, drink some beer together, cry together, commiserate together. And maybe it'll end up being a good show if it's something we can post. If not, it'll just be a hangout. So
sounds good.
John at mavengroup.net if you want to play.
All right. Sounds good. Any other thoughts on HIPAA? Joe, Tom? Nothing? All right. Those guys are like, no, I'm not dealing with that either. Okay, so let's see. Last email of the show. This is from Alan Miller. Said, I'll just note that on Android, Firefox supports add-ons like uBlock Origin. We were talking about, I think last week, we were talking about pop-ups. And I think I was talking about the desktop. Maybe we said mobile, I'm not sure. uBlock Origin is a good one. You can use it on desktop, your mobile platform. A lot of your mobile browsers are identically or almost the same as what your desktop browser is. They're so very close that a lot of the plugins and extensions will actually work with both. But here's the thing. You can lock down pop-ups, but there are so many legitimate pop-ups that people use on a daily basis. They maybe don't even realize that another window opening is actually a pop-up, that you basically have to go in and make it so that either they can get to absolutely nothing and kind of whitelist it as you go, which to me would be a big pain, or I'm not really sure how you would do that. What do you guys do for blocking pop-ups? Because the one pop-up that keeps coming back no matter what you have installed is usually the, hey, you're infected. This is Microsoft. Call me at 1-800 whatever. And those pop-ups still get through even with things like uBlock Origin installed.
I don't have a good solution. Anybody else?
Nope, I don't. I mean, I had one just this past weekend. They were, she emailed me and it's asking, hey, it says I have a Zeus worm virus. Is this true? No, just restart your computer. You'll be okay. You're on the protection. We would have got a notify.
Do a restart.
Yeah, there's no, like you said, I mean, there's no, the biggest problem of it is, even if someone did come out with something that blocked, like you just said, that blocked everything, and you block Origin, I'll pick on them because they're pretty good at blocking almost everything that's tracking, popping up and whatever. There's going to be something, some type of element, some type of form, something that needs to come through. And as just a regular end user, they're not going to know that it's that. So they're going to get frustrated. They're going to figure it out. They're going to go through all these roundabout ways. They're going to call you, to try and fix this. And it's going to be a constant back and forth trying to figure out what's working, what's not, till you just figure out, all right, do I just keep this thing on, or do I just remove it and let them know, try to contact us as best as possible if you have something come up. But again, that's even its own bag of cats, so
right.
There's no real good answer, at least in this point of time.
Yep.
In my opinion.
Anyone else?
Hey, I mean, you're always going to have those 0-day threats there. I guess it's just kind of try to train your users as best as you can to be careful on what they're clicking on. And if in doubt, give you a call. I mean, I always tell anyone that's on the maintenance plan with me, if you're in doubt on anything, always just give me a call. I could try to remote in and see what you're seeing.
Right. Exactly. Very good. But yeah, definitely. I mean, a lot of times I think as technicians, we think about these things, and maybe a lot of us install them, and there's all kinds of things that people will look at as far as, I'm being tracked, I'm being this, and so we'll go through all these different things to protect ourselves. But that doesn't mean, as far as business, that always makes sense to do that for our customer, because again, like Paco said, it can cause you more of a heartache. And again, like John said in the past, once you touch it, you got to fix it because you broke it, even if it's not your fault. So, all right. So let's see. Paco, why don't you give us one parting thought and let everyone know where they can find you?
Which is funny because it actually goes into what Jerry was talking about in his email, is always be open for change. I mean, I know there's a lot of people that tend to kind of be stuck in their own ways, have been doing this for 27 years and are on this mentality of not investing in other tools to help provide them better value. And then there are those that are kind of stuck in their ways. They have their own, combination or custom bundles that they have, and there may be something else that may make things a lot easier for them if they're just open and willing to just check it out. So I just be open, always understand that there is going to be something that you don't know, and it's always going to be something that you never know that may improve and make you more money. For those who want to see me or figure out where I'm at, we have recently relaunched our computer business marketing show. We will have the audio, and I believe Matt will be launching a video podcast of it as well. It'll be over on computerbusinessmarketing.com when we put that website up. But until then, you can find us over on Facebook Live on the Tech Site Builder Facebook page every Wednesday at 3 p.m. Central.
Awesome. Very good. Yeah, get off my lawn. All right, Joe.
Which we actually just had a HIPAA marketing show with David Sims this past Wednesday. So for those who want to check it out,
there you go. Go check it out over on the Tech Site Builder. Is that a fan page, business page? Probably business page, right?
Yeah, it's the Tech Site Builder Facebook business page. So gotcha. For those who want to just like it and click follow and highlight first, basically whenever we go online, it'll be notified right on the top that we went live for you.
All right, very good.
Now this is me going off your lawn.
And Joe, why don't you give us a parting thought and let people know where they can find you at?
My parting thought would be, take the time to go to a conference. I think it's a nice feature to go to where you can just kind of step back, think about your business a little bit. I just think it's great. A lot of times, when you own your own business, you think about your business 24 hours a day. But when you're at a conference, sometimes you just can sit there and reevaluate maybe what you're doing, maybe what you're doing wrong. So that would be my 2 cents in that. And you can get a hold of me at joe@cyberonsiteservices.com. I have a Facebook page, cyberonsiteservices.com. You could like it. And also on Facebook under my name. So
awesome. Good to have you on the show. Appreciate you coming out.
Thanks for having me.
No problem. And Tom, why don't you give us one parting thought and let people know where they can find you?
Basically along the same lines as what Paco and Joe said. I believe that you learn something new every day. Definitely you want to take time to go to these conferences. Definitely another way I find that I'm learning stuff all the time from other business owners is in a lot of the different Facebook groups. There's many good Facebook groups that we have for the computer business owners, and ideas that you may not have thought of, or you have problems. You post a problem in there. You get somebody else's aspect, like another set of eyes on a situation, maybe something you didn't think of. So yeah, definitely. If you're not on Facebook because you don't like Facebook, well, I think it's good just to be on Facebook, just to get the advantage of those groups, that extra knowledge. There's plenty of things that you can learn. Okay, you got that, John? Maybe you would have known about AppSheet then.
I knew that was coming. John.
I'll get with it. What is this? The Facebook? Okay.
Yeah, even Marvin B is on the Facebook.
Yeah.
Even Marvin B.
And that says a lot.
Man in the band. Beep, beep. Marvin actually abuses Facebook. Have you seen the raccoons? Come on now.
Very cool. All right. So let's see. John, why don't you give us a one parting thought where people can find you at?
Well, I'd circle back to what I always say. The only thing I know for sure is I don't know everything. So, and the solutions that you choose, I always, older I get, the longer I do this, it's how do you make your job easier so you can make it easier on the client? I keep going back to that. Shout out to Andy as well, who we didn't mention, that joined us at the conference, Paco's partner in crime. And to Jerry, I know we mentioned that he was there too, but I'm going to shout out to Jerry and say, when are you going to be on a show, Jerry? We're waiting.
I will hound him.
Next to last. All right. I appreciate that. And then a shout out to Taz, who didn't join us here, but who's in the chat. And I think I owe him maybe a Blue Lagoon or anything with blue in it in DC. So I look forward to seeing everybody there in DC as well.
And I will just say, appreciate you coming out. I would just say, as my parting thought, I appreciate all the warm wishes and everybody that had actually missed me at that conference. I understand that Paco got a napkin with a note on it thrust across the table during a certain talk. I'm sorry, Paco, what did it say?
Hold on, let me try and I don't have the picture with me. But yeah, so basically what happened was there was a talk, and then I'll remain this person nameless, but he basically slid over one of the notebooks, and it literally said there would be a fork missing right now if Jeff was here.
So I appreciate the warm thoughts and thinking about me. And I did miss all of you guys there. And hopefully next time it comes around, we'll definitely get out there. So, all right, come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnutz.com/Computer Repair Podcast Live. Join in on the conversation by calling in live and hanging out in the chat room. You can also send an email to podnutz@podnutz.com, or you can leave a voicemail at 1-888-697-0162. We have audio available over at podnutz.com, or subscribe using your favorite podcatcher. You can be notified when the show is live by subscribing to our YouTube channel, Computer Repair Podcast. I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on Podnutz, the Computer Repair Podcast.